Okay. Good evening, everybody. And okay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April 8th meeting of the CRA Advisory Committee. Can I have a roll call, please?
Michael McDermott, Chairman Michael McDermott,
Present.
Committee Member Kenneth Each,
He's running late.
Committee Member Naomi Blemure,
Present.
Committee Member Blanco Cobo,
Present.
Committee Member Ashaki Bronson Marcellus.
Present.
And so, I don't have your name.
Edwidge Clark?
Edwidge Clark. Committee Member Edwidge Clark.
Present.
Okay. All right,
Chairman, you have a quorum to proceed.
Okay. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Flag is to our right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the consent agenda. Unless a member of the CRA Advisory Committee wishes to remove a specific item from this portion of the agenda, tab A through E constitutes the consent agenda. This item is self-explanatory and is not expected to require additional review or discussion. These items will be recorded as individually numbered items, adopted unanimously by the following motion that the consent agenda comprised of tab A through E be adopted.
A through E, you say?
Correct. So A is the approval of the February 13 minutes. The B is the approval of the February 27th minutes. So this is the consent agenda that will be for the CRA board meeting. And then there is on the D is the 305 yoga. This is a beautification grant request. And then E is Mimi's Corner beautification enhancement request.
Okay.
In your, hold on.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve.
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, agenda item number 1, approval of Chairman's initiative for hurricane safety kits. Staff?
NMCRA staff is requesting that the NMCRA board, that the NMCRA advisory committee recommend to the NMCRA board to approve an expenditure of funds not to exceed $32,150 for the chairman's initiative to provide hurricane readiness kits to residents within the NMCRA boundaries. These kits are being provided by Ready America Incorporated, which is one of the nation's leading disaster supply companies, which provides products to help consumers prepare for and defend against natural disasters that they may face. As hurricane season approaches, the chairman is launching an initiative to help equip NMCRA residents with the necessary supplies to improve their resiliency against a potential disaster. As such, 200 hurricane emergency kits will be made available for residences within the NMCRA boundaries, and such kits will include the listing that is provided in the memo, which has water, food, hazard bags, gloves, light sticks, a tent, radio, a backpack for everything, and batteries, just the normal things that people would need to be ready in a hurricane. So staff is recommending approval of this expenditure funds for this purpose.
Okay, any questions from anyone?
I do. I have a question. When would these kits be distributed?
That has not yet been decided because the item needs to be approved first. We would need to know when we would be able to get them in. We do have a proposal that has been attached. We don't know how soon they'd be in, but once we have that date, we'd be able to then create a distribution date based on when we can have them in the office.
Okay. Round about what time of the year does the city normally do hurricane readiness education?
I'm not sure what the city does when they do it, but I do know that hurricane season begins in May, so it's right around the corner.
Okay.
So,
No further questions.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Edward?
any opposed?
Aye.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, the motion carries
Yes.
with a 5-0 vote.
Okay, agenda item number 2, approval of commercial rehabilitation grant request, JBL.
NMCRA staff is requesting that the NMCRA Advisory Committee recommends approval to the NMCRA Board of the rehabilitation grant request from JBL Premier Northwest 119th Street, 119th Miami LLC, located at 805 Northwest 119th Street for $100,000. JBL Asset Management is a well-established privately held company specializing in commercial real estate services and has a proven track record of success in the industry. The goal is to transform an outdated shopping center into a vibrant community landmark by comprehensively modernizing its exterior and interior features to enhance its appeal. The proposed improvements will enhance the property's aesthetic appeal and promote economic growth and vitality in the area. The proposed rendering for the 119th Plaza consists of the following: installing new site lighting and for the parking lot, building a new monument sign, relocating electrical infrastructure to allow tenancy expansion, revamping the landscaping, conducting phase 1 and phase 2 facade renovations to modernize the building and enhance the curb appeal. The total project cost for this project is $750,000. Staff recommends approval of $100,000.
Okay, any questions from anyone? Okay, hearing none, does, hear a motion to approve?
I motion.
Pardon?
I motion. To approve.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 A
Okay.
motion was made by committee member Edwidge Clark. The second was done by
Blanca
Com-
Cobo.
committee member Blanca Cobo. The motion passed with a 5-0 vote.
Okay. Agenda item 3, approval of assignment and assumption of grant agreement from Riva Development Corp. to Sunshine State Development of South Florida, Inc. Staff?
A resolution of the chair and board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the assignment and assumption of the Riva Development Corporation grant agreement from Riva Development Corporation to Sunshine State Development of South Florida Incorporated, authorizing the executive director and NMCRA attorney to negotiate and finalize an assignment and assumption agreement between Riva Development Corporation and Sunshine State Development of South Florida Incorporated, authorizing the executive director to execute the assignment and assumption agreement, authorizing the executive director to take all action necessary to implement the terms of the assignment and assumption agreement, and providing for an effective date. Before we continue, just noting at 6:37 p.m., committee member Kenneth Each will join the meeting. No worries. NMCRA staff is requesting that the NMCRA Advisory Committee recommend approval to the NMCRA Board for the assignment and assumption of the Riva Development Corporation grant agreement with NMCRA by Sunshine State Development of South Florida, Inc. for the completion of Nomi Lofts. The NMCRA Board entered into a grant agreement with Riva dated April 14th, 2020, awarding them $486,250 for the development of a 5-unit project to be known as Nomi Lofts. This was a project that was dedicated completely for senior housing. 3 units were reserved for seniors who were living at 80% of AMI, with the remaining 2 units to be for seniors at 140% of AMI. On December 15th, 2021, the parties entered into a first amendment of the grant agreement, which allocated an additional $486,359 for the project, $100,000 of which was dedicated for the construction of an elevator. And on July 8th, 2022, the parties entered a second amendment to allow the $100,000 that was dedicated to the elevator to be used for general purposes. In total, the NMCRA Board has awarded $972,609 for the development of Nomi Lofts. With the consent of the NMCRA, Riva now seeks to transfer its interest in the project to Sunshine State to complete the development of Nomi Lofts. And staff is recommending approval of this resolution.
Okay, any question from the board?
Yes, I have a few questions.
Okay.
First, why is this happening?
So Riva Development is no longer going to be the developer on that project. They've already transferred all of their interests over to Sunshine State. So if they are no longer the developer, the only way that the NMCRA is able to continue its grant agreement is if Sunshine State is able to assume that grant agreement, and that way we're able to complete our funding of the project for no layoffs, because we still have about $81,000 left to pay out under the original grant. But since River Development is no longer the developer, the new developer, which is Sunshine State, is the one who has to be able to assume the grant agreement to be able to access those funds.
So within the original agreement with Riva, was it open that he or she could have done this?
With our consent, with the NMCRA's consent, yes. So
Okay.
the grant agreements, the majority of our agreements are with the consent of the NMCRA, and they did seek consent before it happened, but there were a few steps that had to happen ahead of time. So with our consent, because we want to see the project completed, without doing this, no Milas does not get completed.
And so is this something that's common, that a person originally attempts to do a project, we approve the money for the project, and then they stop halfway and then have to give it to someone else?
It is not common, but in order to complete this project, we do think that this is the best course of action.
Okay, going forward, is there anything that we can do to ensure that this doesn't happen?
Unfortunately, this was not anything on the agency's side. Things happened with the developer. If a developer no longer wants to complete a project, this was a few years in the making with the project. So if a developer decides that the project is not something they are able to complete, there's nothing that we can do to stop them.
I would also mention, this was a piece of property I think the city owned and conveyed to the original developer, Riva Development. The city was also involved in this project. In that respect, there was some, I think, HUD money that was also paid into the project. And the city consented already, prior to us consenting to the assignment and assumption of our grant agreement, to the conveyance of the property to Sunshine State. And that was done, I believe, in order to prevent the HUD money from having to be repaid to the federal government.
So there are several transactions that has happened.
Correct. And
Correct.
the developer, who is the new developer, was part of Riva Development originally. So Linda Harris, was part of the Riva Development with Don Patterson. She spun off her own company, and she's taking over the development.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's.
Is that all, Naomi?
Yes, that's all.
Okay,
Thank
anyone
you.
else have a question? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion has been made by Committee Member Kenneth Each. A second was done by Committee Member Naomi Belemon.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Motion passes with a 6-0 vote.
yep. Okay, agenda item 4, approval of proposal for activation for Liberty Gardens Park.
A resolution of the Chair and Board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the Executive Director and NMCRA attorney to negotiate and finalize a license agreement with Drinking Pig LLC to develop, operate, and maintain a restaurant in Liberty Gardens Park, authorizing the Executive Director to execute the license agreement with Drinking Pig LLC, authorizing the Executive Director to take all action necessary to implement the terms of the agreement, and providing for an effective date. NMCRA staff is requesting that the NMCRA Advisory Committee recommend approval to the NMCRA Board of the license agreement with Drinking Pig LLC for the activation of Liberty Gardens Park. This proposal aims to activate an underutilized alleyway within our downtown, transforming it into a vibrant outdoor barbecue restaurant concept. The goal is to enhance the appeal of the downtown corridor to residents and visitors alike, while also creating a unique dining experience that fosters a sense of community and engagement. Key aspects of this activation will include a unique dining experience, live music performances and events, craft barbecue sauces and special cocktails, and providing a flexible and pet-friendly environment. Additionally, starting from the second year of the agreement, the NMCRA will receive profit sharing of 5% of gross revenues. Staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Okay. Any questions from anyone?
I do.
Yes.
So the name of the restaurant is gonna be called Drinking Pig?
Yes.
Interesting.
That's the name that
That's the name that the vendor has chosen.
they have other locations with the same name.
Yes.
Where
He's a famous barbecue chef, I believe.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
Where are these where are these
Um,
other Drinking Pig locations?
One of them is downtown.
I think they have a location in Wynwood and another one downtown.
Okay. I mean, the layout is beautiful.
Mhm.
I just think we could have chosen a better, more attractive name, but he or
It's a
she
name
is
that-
in
yes.
business and it's going
It's a
well
he.
for
It's
them.
Working for
It's
them.
Chef Raheem Seeley, who is very well known within the culinary space, has won awards, has had several, as you can see included in the packet, there are several write-ups about the food that he creates, and he's very well known. And yes, the name is currently in use in commerce.
That's all, thank you.
Yeah, I know that the renderings are very nice about
beautiful.
what he plans to do there. Yeah. It will certainly dress it up.
Yes,
Sure.
that is the desire.
Exactly. So, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have it, all right, second with Kenich?
A
Okay.
motion has been made by Committee Member Ashaki Brunson Marcellus, and a second was made by Committee Member Kenneth Each.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, passes 6-0. Okay, agenda item 6, approval of expenditure of funds for community policing initiative.
No, we are on item 5.
Pardon?
Item 5,
5.
yes.
I'm sorry. Approval of MOU with City of North Miami for activation of Liberty Gardens Park.
A resolution of the Chair and Board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the Executive Director and NMCRA attorney to negotiate and finalize a memorandum of understanding with the City of North Miami for the development, operation, and maintenance of a restaurant in Liberty Gardens Park. Authorizing the Executive Director to execute the memorandum of understanding with the City of North Miami. Authorizing the Executive Director to take all action necessary to implement the terms of the memorandum of understanding and providing for an effective date. NMCRA staff is requesting that the NMCRA Advisory Committee recommend approval to the NMCR Board of a resolution authorizing an MOU between the NMCRA and the City of North Miami to facilitate the activation of Liberty Gardens Park. On April 9th, the NMCRA Board, and this is hopeful, if the first motion does not pass, then this will not go to the board. So approved a resolution authorizing a license agreement with Drinking Pig LLC for the activation of the city-owned Liberty Gardens Park. To facilitate the activation, the NMCRA and the City of North Miami would like to enter an MOU to detail the terms of the usage of the Liberty Gardens Park for the activation. Staff is recommending approval of the resolution.
Okay, questions? Any board?
I make a motion we approve.
Okay, do I have a
Seconded.
second?
Seconded.
A motion was made by Committee Member Kenneth Each. A second was made by Committee Member Edwidge Clark.
Okay, do we have the public that would like to speak on this?
Good evening, board members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. This is a great project. It's going to be a nice addition to downtown. The question I have is the accessibility to the rear parking lot. Will our public still be able to walk through that area? Because the city spent a lot of money to acquire that property, tear down the building, create Liberty Gardens as a pass-through to help the existing businesses that were on 125th Street to get them off of 125th Street and have easy access to the rear parking lot. If this facility, if this restaurant is there, are the residents still going to be able to walk through from the sidewalk to the back parking lot in that area, or will it be closed off?
Yes, when we spoke to based on the renderings and when we spoke to the developer, he confirmed that residents will have access to go through.
There'll still be public
Yes,
access.
yeah.
That's great. Just want to make sure that we have that in there. Thank you.
It's ideal for him.
Yeah.
Good traffic, yeah.
Foot traffic, yeah.
Okay, we have motion and second, it was passed. All right, we're moving now on to agenda item 6, approval of expenditure of funds for community policing initiative, FLOC.
A resolution of the chair and board members of the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency authorizing the executive director and NMCRA attorney to negotiate and finalize an interlocal agreement with the City of North Miami for the funding of the purchase and implementation of an infrastructure-free license plate reader camera system from Flock Group Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $120,450, authorizing the executive director to execute the interlocal agreement with the City of North Miami, authorizing the executive director to take all action necessary to implement the terms of the interlocal agreement, and providing for an effective date. NMCRA staff is requesting that the NMCRA Advisory Committee recommend approval to the NMCRA Board of a resolution authorizing an interlocal agreement between the NMCRA and the City of North Miami for a one-time expenditure of funds for the purchase and implementation of an infrastructure-free license plate reader camera system from Flock Group Incorporated as a community policing initiative. This expenditure shall be for an amount not to exceed $120,450. Flock Group Incorporated is a company that has found an innovative way to improve license plate reader cameras by eliminating the infrastructure costs. Flock cameras are solar and battery operated and also use a cellular network rather than Wi-Fi. Additionally, all footage is uploaded to a cloud-based storage system which can be accessed from anywhere. These innovations make this important law enforcement tool much more affordable than it was before. Staff from the NMCRA and the NMPD have worked together regarding the recommended placement of cameras within the NMCRA boundaries at the following locations. There is a very long list of locations that is in the memo, but just to be clear, this is going to be placed CRA-wide and along Northwest 7th Avenue. And staff is recommending approval of this resolution. There is also a map for those who would like to, see the visual placement of the cameras.
Okay, any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm assuming this is for safety reasons. Is this gonna be ticketed, or are we just monitoring, or what are we?
Monitoring purposes. This is really
Monitoring.
just to, it's more of a commercial purpose to address property concerns, things like shoplifting, and then also you have the added benefit of if there's a crime happening in the area, you're able to see the license plate reader and the camera, take the information. The police are able to then use that
Sure.
tool to then follow up on their investigation
Right.
methods.
Okay.
Naomi, you had a question?
Okay, so it is a video or a picture?
It's video. It's a camera system, so
Okay.
they're able to capture camera.
Okay, and it's just catching every car that runs that passes these locations?
Yes, in those specific geographical areas, yes.
Okay.
A quick look at the internet on this particular item
Mhm.
is proven a very effective crime prevention and crime solving. As a matter of fact, the gentleman who killed the young person and they found him several states away,
Mhm.
that was because of a reader. They had a reader and they caught his car and they wound up catching him, and so they knew where he was.
Wow.
So they're very effective, so. I'd like to open up to the public. Any public comment? Okay, none. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? A motion second.
motion-
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0.
Okay, a motion was made by committee member Shaki Bronson Marcellus. The second was made by committee member Kenneth Each, and the motion did pass with a 6-0 vote.
Okay. Agenda item 7, approval of loan selection committee recommendation.
Pardon me. Staff is submitting for your review and approval 1 second. The recommendation of the North Miami CRA Executive Director with regards to the evaluation committee results for request for proposals, RFP 25-23-24, bank loan for the North Miami Community Redevelopment Agency, NMCRA, and to request the board's authority for the NMCRA Executive Director and NMCRA attorney to negotiate and finalize an agreement with the firm recommended by the committee. RFP number 25-23-24 was issued for the purpose of seeking proposals from interested firms to purchase from the NMCRA its redevelopment revenue note series 2024 for a not to exceed amount of $50 million. In response to the solicitation, the city opened and received a bid of one proposal from Morgan Stanley and Company LLC. The evaluation committee reviewed the proposal and their recommendation subsequently submitted to the NMCRA director for approval. The evaluation committee results were to approve the Morgan Stanley proposal, and attached for your review is a proposal and a timeline. That is also the executive director's recommendation to approve the proposal. For clarity, there are a few options that can happen pursuant to section 7-138G1 of the city's procurement code. There are a few options that can happen with the proposal. Either the proposal could have been approved and by the recommendation of the committee and then submitted for approval by the board. The recommendation could have been rejected by the executive director of the selection committee, or the recommendation could have been just to start all over by rejecting all proposals. The executive director's recommendation is to move forward with the Morgan Stanley proposal.
Okay, any questions from the board members?
Have they shared the rate? I wasn't able to see that.
So it is a calculation, and from the understanding that I've been provided, when you do all of the calculation, the TIC, which is the truth in, I forget now, what is TIC, truth in?
TIC is truth and.
Truth and lending?
No, that's TIL.
I'll look it up while you.
Basically, the final, the overall percentage, I think, is 4.35% for the interest rate. So that is the CRA's understanding of what it will be once all of the calculations are done.
Okay, and then the 50 million that is going to be received by the CRA, how is it going to be spent? Is it going to go directly to outstanding grants that we have already approved, or a portion of it is going to go to outstanding grants and then new projects? What's the scenario?
Okay, so first of all, I do want to point your attention to page 20 of the attachments, and you will see that there is a debt service refund reserve fund that is required by this lender, which means it's only going to be 45 million that we have access to. 5 million will be a part of the debt service reserve fund.
Okay.
So the 45 million, the CRA board is going to have a project listing of what they want included in the $45 million spend. And so once that project listing has been provided, then we'll be able to move forward. There is going to be potentially a mix of taxable and non-taxable projects. Of course, if the better is to have non-taxable, because then you get more of the money to be spent on the actual project rather than having to pay the taxes. So depending on what mix of projects are on that sheet, up to $45 million, that's what we'll be able to do.
Do you think, if possible, West Dixie Highway would be included in this?
I am sure it will be a strong consideration of the board.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else have any questions?
This was the only lender that,
That is correct.
and why was that? How did that? Do we know, or we have a guess, or, I don't know.
So there,
Can you speak into the microphone
sorry.
so that she can?
My question was, this was the only lender that came forward out of the big banks, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley,
yes.
well,
This is
Morgan
the
Stanley's part of it, isn't that part of Bank of
Morgan
America?
Stanley is
It's
the
part of Bank of
lender, but yes, I can't opine as to,
And we did advertise?
absolutely,
Absolutely, yeah.
absolutely.
That's kind of interesting.
And also, just so you know, with the original deadline, no proposals were received, and we extended the
Extended.
deadline
Yeah.
to receive this one proposal. If you, in my opinion, is probably, you know, and I've been with the CRA for, you know, almost 20 years, we have no history of borrowing in the
Okay,
past, so it's probably some combination of no borrowing history and current market conditions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. A shocky
Thank
long
you.
nose, right?
Yeah.
Okay, barring no questions from the board, open to public, here, any public like to comment? Going once, going twice? Okay, can I have a motion to approve, please?
So move.
And a second?
A motion was made by committee member Naomi Blemure. A second was made by committee member Kenneth Each.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Okay, agenda item 8, approval of revised property disposal guidelines.
NMCRA staff is requesting that the NMCRA Advisory Committee recommend to the NMCRA Board approval of the proposed real properties disposal guidelines that specify the process by which the agency will dispose of properties within the NMCRA boundaries. The NMCRA currently owns 3 properties located at 1270 Northwest 123rd Street, North Miami, Florida 33167, 1205 Northwest 11th Avenue, and 975 Northwest 132nd Street, North Miami, Florida 33168. The NMCRA may sell, lease, or otherwise transfer the parcels for uses in accordance with the 2023 NMCRA redevelopment plan update, and as such, the NMCRA staff is proposing guidelines pursuant to Florida statutes 163.383A to facilitate the disposal of properties within its boundaries. Staff recommends approval of the proposed guidelines.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Yes, I do have a question, and it's specifically, I mean, I know you're focused on property within the CRA guidelines. I know you are focused with properties that are only within the CRA guidelines.
Or the boundaries.
Boundaries,
Yes.
excuse me.
Yes, within the boundary, yes.
Yes, however, I also sit on the housing board, and there was a conversation proposal made on creating a trust for all properties or all assets that the city holds, and we have not heard anything about that. So going forward, or is that something that you're aware of, that we're or are not aware of?
I was not aware of that, no.
Is that something that we can have a conversation around? Because obviously you're bringing this because there's opportunity there, right? But we also have, based on the research that was done, there's several hundreds of properties that the assets that the city holds that the public is unaware of.
So the CRA would own, I mean, and again, this is the first time I'm hearing about this, so I would have to understand that process a little bit more. However, the CRA would only be able to participate to the extent that there are
Within,
properties within the boundaries and ones that we own. Right now, these are the only 3
that are within the CRA boundaries.
that we own, that the CRA owns. Any other properties within the CRA boundaries have other owners. And so I'm not sure what that conversation would look like and what that partnership could look like, but it's, you know, something that I can start researching and looking into.
Okay, and then my next question is, do you have some idea of what you're looking to do with these 3 properties?
This is just to propose guidelines. The board, with the 3 properties that we have options. The board could choose to say, we will put out a notice pursuant to these guidelines where we would solicit proposals from the public to, you know, redevelop these properties according to the redevelopment plan that we have. Or the board could say and this applies to one or all of the properties. The decision doesn't have to apply to all the things, right? So the board could also say that the CRA could redevelop these properties. It just depends on what the board would like to do. However, at the point that the CRA is looking to transfer its ownership to another party, the notice of 163, the 163 notice would have to go out pursuant to these guidelines.
Thank you.
Okay,
The,
any other questions from the board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point allocation, can you explain the City of North Miami resident allocation and the City of North Miami CRA employee? Is the allocation of the points to have members as part of the development team, or?
So this is, the guidelines that you have before you are revised guidelines of an existing structure that was already in place. What we chose to do was that existing guideline that was already in place already had the notice incorporated with dates and things of that nature that had already passed. So in doing this revision, I removed anything that was time specific and made this a very general guideline process. But this was a point allocation that was already approved by the board in the past, and I did keep it in just because it was already prior approved. At this juncture, if the board chooses to remove the evaluation criteria, then that is also something that the board could choose to do. I believe at the time that this was done, there was a preference that was, the desire was to have a preference for somebody who either lived within the boundaries or the city of Miami or worked within the boundaries or the city of North Miami to be able to have an opportunity at these properties. And so that's why that preference was incorporated within the point allocation.
The pro-
Go ahead.
the
Kenny?
properties are residential?
There are 2 residential, well, they're all zoned residential, R2. There are 2 structures and 1 vacant lot.
Okay. All right. With regards to the city disposing of city property, it's in the land use ordinance, I believe, and it's, we go out to 3 bids or 3 evaluations on the property, and I think we position is this 90% of the highest, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, you're on the,
Right.
was that, we just did one on the, what the heck was that, 123rd
123rd and 6th.
Parish, right, yeah.
Right.
So I think that's a little bit different than what we're looking at over here. Yeah, it is, you know, it's different.
It's a different set of statutes.
yeah.
So the CRAs are governed by
Exactly.
Part 3 of Section 163. There's a specific statute which the executive director referred to, 163.380, subsection 3A, which governs the disposition of real property within the CRA. And if it's for redevelopment purposes, it doesn't matter whether it's owned by the CRA, the city, or the county. Each of those entities would have to follow that particular process if it's for redevelopment purposes. If the city's selling it for some other purpose, obviously they don't have to follow section 163.380.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, open to the public, any public comment? Okay.
Good evening, board members. Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. This question is directed to the CRA attorney. Is the CRA allowed to develop the properties on their own and hire an outside contractor as opposed to letting putting it out for bid? Because I've read that in some parts of Florida, CRAs have run into problems where they've given somebody property, given them grants. We just had this earlier. Project didn't get completed, that the CRA are actually developing the property and then making it available to the different recipients. Is that allowed? And at one time, I thought we had that conversation at the beginning of the CRA that the city would actually develop some housing and then dispose of it to an entity that would manage it and run it or own it. I don't know if that is still the current law, that the CRA itself could be the developer.
Mr. Chairman, you want me to respond to
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Burns? Yes, certainly the CRA, if the redevelopment plan provides that the CRA can develop its own affordable housing, which it does, the CRA could develop these lots probably for affordable housing and then convey them, sell them. They'd have to go through the same process to sell the completed lot as they would to sell the vacant lot or the lot with the house on it now. It's still the same process. But certainly, and there's other CRAs for which I'm the general counsel that have similar type of lots. They get lots like these from the county. when they escheat to the county for payment of non, property taxes. And they develop them. They build single-family homes, and then they hire a broker and they sell the homes. So it all depends upon what the board's discretion is and what they want to do when it comes to the properties themselves. I mean, in any event, to address your question about, issues with projects getting done and not done, I mean, we would certainly be putting a declaration of restrictions on the property that limits the use and development of that property for a specific project. And if it's not completed within a certain amount of time, there would be a reverter right so that the property would come back to the CRA.
Thank you for that. I would just recommend to the board to seriously consider actually taking control of the property that you already own and think of a process to actually develop it as the CRA board. And then once the project is completed, you can decide whether you want to hold on it and put it into the housing stock, or to go ahead and make it available for somebody, first-time home buyer, whatever the numerous programs that are out there. It might be an interesting thing, especially these are small properties. We're not talking about developing a 55-unit building. We're talking about single-family homes and so forth. But again, just something for your consideration. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Okay, to the executive director. With Mayor Burns' comments, you want to reconsider this, or what is your thought, or continue as planned?
So these are just the guidelines. This is not making a decision as to how these properties are going to be dealt with. These are just the guidelines. So the guidelines can be approved, and then the board can still make a decision either that the CRA redevelops them or that they are disposed of prior to any CRA development.
Okay, very good. Yes, Naomi.
To former Mayor Burns' point, I think that with where we are as a county, as it relates to affordable housing, and where we are as a city, I believe it would be in the best interest of the CRA to hold on to its property and develop it on its own, and then move forward with making it accessible to those that are in need in our city. I am against giving projects to people and they're not able to complete them, and then we have to turn around, and then there's kind of like switch and bake kind of thing going on. And so in order for us to ensure that that doesn't happen, or that we decrease the possibilities of that happening, if we have the means to, we should do the work ourselves and make it directly accessible to those that need it. I 100% agree. And so I know this is just a process that you're putting in place so that if and when you want to go down that route, the process exists. But I would also recommend that when that time comes, that we look at developing this two properties and the land ourselves for what the city needs.
Understood.
Okay.
Would you still use
Not a
the
question.
same
Oh, okay.
allocation of points to determine that?
You can make a recommendation to the board to either keep this allocation of point system or to do something different.
I don't have a problem.
Okay, Edwards?
Going back to the topic brought up by the mayor, does staff have the resources and the staffing to develop projects on their own? What does that look like, I guess?
So an allocation of funds would have to be identified to be able to do the development. However, no, the staff would not. We'd have to contract with a developer in order to be able to do the work, or general contractor, things that we could be the developer, but get the general contractor and things of that nature to get that work done.
But I guess, do you have the resources to do that? Be a developer within the CRA, or have the resources available?
We don't have an unstaffed general contractor. However, that could be sourced.
Okay. Well, not the construction side, the actual management of the development, because there's the developer manager and then there's
Right.
the general contractor.
The-
I understand the fact that you would have to
Right.
hire a general contractor. What I'm asking is
I
there
think because, yes, I think to your question that I now understand better, given the size of the project, I believe that we would be able to manage it in-house.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve?
So move.
Second? And a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes 6-0.
A motion was made by Committee Member Naomi Billamure. A second was made by Committee Member Blanca Cobo, and the motion passed with a 6-0 vote.
Okay. All right. CRA Attorney report?
No report tonight, sir.
Okay. Anything else?
So we do have our monthly staff report, has already been distributed to you. So I don't know if you want to take a chance to look through it. If you have questions on the report, we are available for answers.
Okay. While people are taking a think on that, any public comment? Okay. Going once, going twice. Okay. Anyone have any particular comments on the staff report?
So I just have a few questions. Where it says project completed and there is a balance, how long will it be before those payments are made?
It's usually because the grantee has not submitted a final payment or final
Oh.
reimbursement request. We're usually waiting on the grantee.
Oh,
Once-
so even if it says completed, there's some things that they still have not submitted to you as of yet?
Yes, it depends on the grantee. If they submit their CO and CU, then the project is deemed complete. We just usually wait on them to submit the final reimbursement request.
Excellent. And then where it says rescinded, if the grant is rescinded, it just goes back into the pool?
Yes, that is correct.
Have we had any grants rescinded, staff?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a beautification, and that was the grantee's request.
What?
The grantee requested that the grant was rescinded.
Okay. All right.
Well, before we go, the residential rehabs can you kind of give an overview of what those are?
The residential rehabs, this is just, well, it's different from the commercial. So once the grantee applies, I don't know if you want me to
So
talk
it's a
about the
homeowner
process.
who applies?
Yes, it's a beautification for the homeowner.
Excellent. And then if it says exterior, that means there's nothing going on
Yeah,
on the
for the
inside?
residential, we don't need the exterior. And we do interior if it's deemed a life safety issue.
Oh, okay, up to how much?
The program is up to 30,000 for the single family home.
Okay. And then exterior is up to how much?
The whole program is
Mhm.
for 30,000 and exterior is 30,000. So the house is, once somebody qualifies, it's up to 30,000. And then we have a housing inspector that will go and work on the scope of work.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would invite contractors to bid on the project.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments?
I have another question. Recently, we voted on the new signs, or not new signs, but signs that should have already been in place and that were not, and we voted on that. Are those put in place now, or?
I'm sorry. We do have two gateway signs going
Mhm.
District 4. We are now waiting on the permit to be issued by the building department before they can be installed.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
I think what you're doing a good job because there's a lot of homes that are very old and they do need to be brought up to date.
Microphone.
Blanca, you gotta speak into the microphone. You gotta turn it on. Is it on? Yeah, it looks like it's green. Okay.
Can you hear me? No?
No. Push that little knob there. There you go.
Oh, okay. There is a lot of homes that are very old that do need some replacement in a lot of the areas. And I think it's very good that we're helping them.
Thank you.
Because-
It is a very popular program in the
Mhm.
CRA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Second? Everybody? All in favor, say aye. Okay, thank you all very much.
A motion to adjourn was made by Committee Member Kenneth Each and seconded by Committee Member Ashaki Bronson Marcellus and passed with a 6-0 vote.